6 months ago. Marlo Sterling clutched the phone with trembling hands, barely able to believe the words she'd just heard. Chief Executive Officer. At 32, of Ashford Technologies, one of the largest tech corporations in the United States. "You start in January, Miss Sterling. Congratulations," said the voice of the board chairman before hanging up. She spun in her chair in her small Boston office, looking out the window at the snow beginning to fall. Finally. Years of hard work, of proving her worth, of sacrificing weekends and holidays. It was all worth it. Marlo had no idea what hurricane she was about to walk into. Present day, Ashford Technologies headquarters, Manhattan. "Her? You've got to be kidding me." The shrill voice echoed through the executive corridor on the 50th floor, making Marlo pause before entering the conference room. Her first official day as CEO, and there was already drama. "Scarlett, please control yourself," said a male voice, deep and weary. "I will not control myself, Beckett. Your mother and I just found out that this nobody from Boston is going to run your family's company." Marlo took a deep breath, adjusted her navy blue Armani blazer, and pushed the door open with determination. 3 pairs of eyes immediately turned to her. The first person she noticed was an impeccably dressed blonde woman with icy green eyes and a posture that screamed, former debutante. Scarlett, she presumed. The second was an older woman with platinum hair pulled back in a severe bun and an expression that could freeze hell itself, certainly the Ashford matriarch, Vivian. But it was the third pair of eyes that stole her breath. Beckett Ashford was leaning against the massive mahogany table, arms crossed over a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Dark brown hair slightly disheveled, strong jawline, and honey-colored eyes that watched her with an intensity that made her heart race uncomfortably. He was devastatingly handsome. "Marlo Sterling," she announced, extending her hand with professional confidence, ignoring the strange tingling running down her spine. "A pleasure to meet you all in person." "The pleasure is all mine." Beckett stepped forward, taking her hand with a smile that didn't quite reach his troubled eyes. But something shifted in his face when their fingers touched. A spark of surprise, of recognition, as if he'd been struck by lightning. He held her hand a second longer than necessary. "How convenient," Scarlett cut in, her voice dripping with venom. "The new CEO shows up exactly when Beckett and I are finalizing preparations for our wedding. What interesting timing." "To Scarlett," Beckett warned, finally releasing Marlo's hand. "No, darling. Let me make things clear from the start." Vivian Ashford stood, her Louboutin heels echoing threateningly on the marble. "Miss Sterling, the board may have appointed you, but this is still my family's company, and I suggest you remember that." Marlo met the matriarch's icy gaze without blinking. "With all due respect, Mrs. Ashford, the board hired me because profits have dropped 23% in the last 2 years. I'm here to save this company, not to compete for anyone's affection." A tense silence filled the room. Then Beckett did something unexpected. He laughed. A genuine, surprised laugh that lit up his entire face. "Well," he said, his eyes still fixed on Marlo with a new expression. Admiration mixed with something more dangerous. "This is going to be interesting." Scarlett shot him a withering look, her hand possessively grabbing his arm, displaying an engagement ring that probably cost more than a Manhattan apartment. And Marlo knew in that exact moment that her life had just become infinitely more complicated. Marlo's first week at Ashford Technologies was like walking through a minefield in stilettos. Every decision she made was scrutinized. Every meeting she held was somehow accidentally interrupted by Scarlett, who had apparently made the executive floor her second home. And Vivian Ashford had a disturbing habit of appearing in Marlo's office doorway at the most inconvenient moments, her disapproving gaze sweeping over everything from Marlo's choice of desk decor to her coffee order. "Caramel macchiato?" Vivian had sniffed on day 3. How pedestrian. But the real problem was Beckett. He was everywhere. In strategy meetings, his intelligent insights cutting through corporate jargon. In the hallways, his presence somehow making the expansive space feel smaller. In her thoughts, which was absolutely unacceptable. Marlo Sterling didn't do workplace crushes, especially not with engaged millionaires whose fiancés looked at her like she was a cockroach at a garden party. "Miss Sterling?" Her assistant, Jamie, poked his head into her office Friday afternoon. "Mr. Ashford is here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important." Her stomach did an unwelcome flip. "Send him in." Beckett entered, and Marlo noticed immediately that something was different. He'd loosened his tie, and there was a tightness around his eyes that suggested stress. "We need to talk," he said, closing the door behind him. "If this is about the restructuring proposal, it's not about work." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she was beginning to recognize as his tell when he was frustrated. "It's about Scarlett, and my mother. I owe you an apology." Marlo leaned back in her chair, studying him. "Go on." "They've been difficult. I've heard about the random office visits, the passive-aggressive comments in meetings, the way Scarlett's been poisoning the well with the board members who were already skeptical about bringing in an outside CEO. I can handle difficult, Mr. Ashford." "Beckett," he corrected, moving closer to her desk. "And I know you can handle yourself. That's not why I'm here." "Then why are you here?" He met her eyes, and the intensity there made her breath catch. "Because what they're doing isn't right. You were hired to do a job, and you deserve respect. From everyone. Including my family." Something warm unfurled in Marlo's chest. "That's very gallant of you." "Gallant?" A smile tugged at his lips. "I haven't been called that before." "What have you been called?" "Workaholic, control freak, emotionally unavailable." The smile faded slightly. "That last one's courtesy of Scarlett, usually shouted during arguments about why I'd rather review quarterly reports than attend charity galas." Marlo shouldn't ask. It was none of her business. But the words came anyway. "Why are you marrying her?" Beckett's jaw tightened. "Because it makes sense. Our families have been aligned for years. She understands this world. The expectations. The obligations." He paused. "And because I've never felt anything different enough to break a promise. Never felt anything different." The way he looked at her when he said it made her pulse race. "That's the saddest reason for marriage I've ever heard," Marlo said softly. Before Beckett could respond, the door burst open. "There you are!" Scarlett swept in, her Chanel perfume arriving seconds before she did. Her smile was pure venom when she spotted Marlo. "Darling, we're going to be late for the cake tasting. You promised—" She stopped, her eyes narrowing as she took in the intimate proximity of Beckett standing near Marlo's desk. "Am I interrupting something?" "Just a business discussion," Beckett said smoothly, but Marlo noticed he didn't step away. "How fascinating." Scarlett's hand curled possessively around his arm. "Well, business hours are over. Time to focus on our wedding." She practically spat the last word, her eyes locked on Marlo like a challenge. "I'll be right there," Beckett said. "No, you'll come now." Scarlett's perfectly manicured nails dug into his jacket. "Unless this employee is more important than our wedding plans?" The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Marlo stood, smoothing her skirt. "Mr. Ashford, we can continue this discussion Monday. Please, don't let me keep you from your cake tasting." Something flashed across Beckett's face. Disappointment, frustration. But he nodded. "Monday, then." As Scarlett practically dragged him toward the door, she paused, turning back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "A word of advice, Miss Sterling? In Manhattan society, there are people who matter, and people who are temporary. It's important to know which one you are." After they left, Marlo sank into her chair, her hands shaking slightly. She'd faced hostile takeovers, cutthroat negotiations, and corporate sabotage, but nothing had prepared her for the particular brand of warfare that was Scarlett Monroe and Vivian Ashford. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry about that. She's not usually that openly hostile." B. Marlo stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. She should ignore it, should maintain professional boundaries, should absolutely not engage with her engaged boss outside of work hours. She typed, "I've dealt with worse. Have fun with the cake." His response came immediately, "Impossible. But thank you for trying to make me feel better about the next 2 hours of my life." Despite everything, the hostile fiancé, the disapproving mother, the complicated situation, Marlowe smiled. This was going to be a problem. A big, handsome, honey-eyed problem. The Ashford Foundation annual charity gala was the social event of the season. Marlowe had tried to decline the invitation, citing work commitments, but the board chairman had made it clear. Attendance was mandatory for the new CEO, which was how she found herself in a midnight blue silk gown, walking into the Plaza Hotel ballroom feeling like a fraud among Manhattan's elite. "Marlowe Sterling as I live and breathe." She turned to find Harrison Chen, an old colleague from her Boston days, champagne flute in hand. "Harry, what are you doing here?" "Venture capital waits for no man, darling. Heard you're shaking things up at Ashford." He leaned in conspiratorially. "Also heard you've got a target on your back courtesy of the Ice Queen and her daughter-in-law-to-be. News travels fast. Honey, in this town, scandals travel at the speed of light." Harry's eyes drifted past her shoulder and widened. "Speaking of which, incoming at 3 o'clock, and he cannot take his eyes off you." Marlowe didn't need to turn to know who Harry meant. She could feel Beckett's gaze like a physical touch. "Miss Sterling." His voice was warm, intimate. "You look stunning." She turned, and her breath caught. Beckett in a tuxedo should be illegal. The black fabric emphasized his broad shoulders, and his honey eyes held an intensity that made her forget they were in a room full of people. "Mr. Ashford," she managed. "Lovely event." "Beckett," he corrected again, stepping closer. "And I agree. It just got considerably lovelier." "How disgustingly charming," Harry Stage whispered. "I'll leave you two to your business discussion." He disappeared into the crowd with a knowing wink. "Your friend seems perceptive," Beckett said, his eyes never leaving her face. "Too perceptive for his own good." Marlowe accepted a champagne flute from a passing waiter, needing something to do with her hands. "Shouldn't you be with your fiancé?" A muscle ticked in his jaw. "Scarlett is holding court with the society columnists. Apparently, our wedding is the most anticipated event since the royal wedding." "Sounds exhausting." "You have no idea." He moved closer, and she caught his scent, sandalwood and something uniquely him. "Dance with me." "That's not a good idea." "I know." His hand extended anyway. "Dance with me anyway." It was professional suicide. Scarlett was somewhere in this ballroom, probably watching. Vivian certainly was. But Marlowe found herself placing her hand in his, letting him lead her to the dance floor. The moment his arm circled her waist, everything else faded. "This is dangerous," she whispered as they swayed to the orchestra. "I'm aware." His thumb traced small circles on her lower back, sending shivers down her spine. "I've been trying to stay away from you all week. It's not working." "Beckett, do you know when I knew I was in trouble?" His voice was low, meant only for her. "That first day, when you stared down my mother without flinching, when you refused to be intimidated, I thought, finally, someone real." Marlowe's heart hammered. "You're engaged." "I know." "To a woman who hates me." "I know that too." "Then what are we doing?" His eyes held hers, raw honesty in their depths. "I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to marry someone when I can't stop thinking about someone else." The world tilted. Before Marlowe could respond, a champagne flute shattered nearby. "How dare you!" The entire ballroom fell silent. Scarlett stood 10 feet away, trembling with rage, a puddle of champagne at her feet. Behind her, Vivian's face was a mask of cold fury. "Scarlett?" Beckett released Marlowe immediately. It was just a dance. Just a dance? Scarlett's voice reached a pitch that probably shattered windows in Connecticut. You haven't looked at me the way you were just looking at her in the entire 3 years we've been together. Whispers erupted around them. Phone cameras appeared. This would be on every gossip site by morning. Darling, let's discuss this privately, Beckett tried. But Scarlett was beyond reason. No! Everyone should know what kind of woman the great Ashford Technologies hired as CEO. She turned her venom on Marlowe. A homewrecker. A gold digger trying to seduce her way to the top. That's enough. Beckett's voice cut through the ballroom like a whip, but Vivian glided forward, her smile venomous. Is it though, darling? Miss Sterling has been here 2 weeks, and already she's caused more drama than we've had in years. Perhaps the board made a mistake. Marlowe felt every eye in the room on her. Her career, her reputation, everything she'd worked for, crumbling because of one dance. She lifted her chin, channeling every ounce of dignity she possessed. Mrs. Ashford, Miss Monroe, I apologize if a simple dance at a professional networking event caused offense. It was not my intention. She turned to Beckett, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Mr. Ashford, thank you for the dance. If you'll all excuse me, I have an early morning. She walked toward the exit, head high, even as her world fell apart. Marlowe, wait. Beckett started after her, but Scarlett's hand clamped on his arm. You're going to chase after her? Now? In front of everyone? Marlowe didn't look back. She couldn't. Because if she did, if she saw the look in Beckett's eyes, she might do something stupid like run back to him. Outside, the cool night air hit her face as the tears finally came. Her phone buzzed incessantly, probably already messages about the scandal. Her Uber was 3 minutes away. That was the bravest exit I've ever seen. She spun around. Beckett stood in the doorway, bow tie undone, looking absolutely wrecked. You shouldn't be here, she said. I know. He stepped closer. I seem to be doing a lot of things I shouldn't lately. Beckett, this can't happen. You're getting married in 3 months. I know. His voice broke slightly. God, Marlowe, I know, but I can't. He stopped, running both hands through his hair. I don't know what to do. Her Uber pulled up. This was her chance to end it cleanly, professionally, before anyone got hurt more than they already were. Figure it out, she said softly, because I won't be the other woman. Not for anyone. Not even for you. She got in the car without looking back, leaving Beckett standing alone in the night. Inside, Scarlett watched from the window, a satisfied smile on her face. Everything was going exactly according to plan. The headlines were brutal. New Ashford CEO causes scene at charity gala. Billionaire's fiancé confronts alleged mistress. Ashford Technologies in turmoil as love triangle emerges. Marlowe sat in her office Monday morning. The tabloids spread across her desk like evidence at a crime scene. Her phone hadn't stopped ringing since Saturday. The board wanted explanations. Shareholders were nervous, and her inbox was flooded with interview requests from gossip columnists. It's a circus out there, Jamie said, bringing her 4th coffee of the morning. Security had to escort 3 reporters out of the lobby already. Perfect, Marlowe muttered. Anything from the board? Emergency meeting at 2. They want you, Mr. Ashford, and... Jamie grimaced. Mrs. Ashford Sr. Of course they did. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Beckett, the 7th since Saturday night. Please let me explain. This is all my fault. She deleted it, just like the others. What was there to explain? He was engaged. She was his employee. One dance had nearly destroyed both their careers. Her computer pinged with a calendar invitation. Lunch with Vivian Ashford. Today, non-negotiable. This day just kept getting better. The restaurant was the kind where entrees cost more than most people's car payments. Vivian sat at a corner table, imperious in Chanel, a Bloody Mary already in hand. Miss Sterling, how punctual. Her smile could cut glass. Please, sit. Marlowe sat, every instinct screaming danger. Let me be direct, Vivian said, not bothering with pleasantries. You're a problem. A fascinating, unexpected problem, but a problem nonetheless. Mrs. Ashford, my son is infatuated with you. Don't bother denying it. I've known Beckett for 32 years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looked at you on that dance floor. She took a delicate sip of her drink. It's inconvenient. I have no intention of pursuing anything with your son. Oh, I believe you. You're too smart for that. Too ambitious. Vivian leaned forward. Which is why I'm going to make you an offer. Here it comes, Marlowe thought. $5 million. Cash. Transferred to any account you choose. In exchange, you resign as CEO, citing personal reasons, and sign an NDA about everything that's happened. The number hung in the air between them. You're trying to buy me off. I'm offering you a graceful exit from an impossible situation. Vivian's eyes were cold. The board is already questioning whether you can lead effectively after this scandal. Scarlett's family has significant influence with 3 of the 7 board members. How long do you think you'll last? I was hired to save this company, and you will fail. Vivian's voice turned sharp. Not because you're incompetent, you're actually quite brilliant, which makes this harder, but because we will ensure you fail. Every initiative blocked, every proposal questioned, every decision undermined. That's corporate sabotage. That's family protecting family. Vivian signaled for the check. You have until Wednesday to decide. After that, the offer expires and things become unpleasant. Marlowe returned to the office shaking with anger. $5 million. As if she could be bought like a problem to be solved. Marlowe! Beckett was waiting outside her office, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. Not now. She tried to push past him, but he caught her arm gently. Please. 5 minutes. That's all I ask. Against her better judgment, she led him into her office and closed the door. I broke it off, he said immediately. Marlowe's world stopped. What? The engagement. I called it off yesterday. He moved closer, his eyes intense. I couldn't do it, Marlowe. Couldn't marry her when every time I close my eyes, I see you. Beckett, no! Panic rose in her chest. No, you can't do this. It's already done. Scarlett is furious. My mother is livid. The wedding planners are having collective heart attacks. But it's done. For me? You broke off your engagement for me? Marlowe's voice rose. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Your mother just offered me $5 million to disappear. His jaw clenched. She what? And Scarlett's family controls 3 board members. I'm going to lose this job, Beckett. Everything I've worked for, gone, because you couldn't control yourself for one dance. This isn't about the dance, and you know it. He closed the distance between them. This is about the fact that I haven't been able to breathe properly since the moment you walked into that conference room. That I've spent 3 years in a relationship that felt like a business transaction, and then you show up, and suddenly I understand what everyone means when they talk about feeling alive. Marlowe's breath caught. You don't even know me. Then let me get to know you. No secrets, no pretense, just... The door burst open. Scarlett stood there, mascara streaked, trembling with rage, with 2 security guards behind her looking uncomfortable. You bitch! She lunged at Marlowe, but the guards caught her. This is your fault! You seduced him! You ruined everything! Scarlett, stop! Beckett tried. 3 years, Beckett! 3 years of my life, planning our perfect future, and you throw it away for her? Scarlett's voice broke into sobs. I loved you. For the first time, Marlowe saw past the designer clothes and entitled attitude. She saw a woman genuinely heartbroken. Miss Monroe needs to leave the premises, Jamie appeared, looking stressed. Security protocols. I'll go, Scarlett spat. But this isn't over. Not even close. Her red-rimmed eyes fixed on Marlowe. You have no idea what you've started. My family will destroy you. The board will vote you out. And Beckett? Her voice turned venomous. He'll realize what a mistake he made, and by then, I'll be long gone. She left in a dramatic sweep of Valentino and tears. The office fell silent. The board meeting is in 20 minutes, Jamie said quietly. They've moved it up. Beckett reached for Marlowe's hand. We'll face them together. She pulled away. No. This is my career, my fight. You've done enough damage. His face fell. Marlowe, I need you to leave, now. Her voice was steady, despite her crumbling heart. Please. After he left, Marlowe stood at her window, looking out over Manhattan. Somewhere in this city, Vivian and Scarlett were planning her destruction. The board was about to decide her fate, and the man she was falling for had just blown up his life, possibly for nothing. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Enjoy your board meeting. It'll be your last. S. Marlowe squared her shoulders. She'd fought her way to this position against impossible odds. She wasn't going down without a fight. Game on. The boardroom felt like a courtroom. 7 board members sat in judgment, their faces ranging from sympathetic to openly hostile. Vivian Ashford occupied the seat at the far end, a queen presiding over an execution. Scarlett's father, Edmund Monroe, sat beside her, a detail Marlowe hadn't known until that moment. She was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Miss Sterling, Chairman Richard Pemberton began, his voice neutral. In light of recent events, the board has concerns about your ability to lead this company effectively. Recent events being a single dance at a charity gala. Marlowe kept her voice steady. Recent events being a public scandal that's cost us $3 million in stock value in 48 hours, Edmund Monroe cut in. My daughter is emotionally devastated. The Ashford-Monroe merger of families, which would have brought considerable business advantages, is now in shambles. With respect, Mr. Monroe, I was hired to run a technology company, not to facilitate arranged marriages. Vivian's eyes flashed. How dare you? Let her speak, Chairman Pemberton said. Marlowe stood, pulling up a presentation on the screen. In 3 weeks, I've identified 17 inefficiencies costing this company approximately $43 million annually. I've secured 2 potential contracts worth a combined $90 million. And I've restructured the development division to increase productivity by 32%. She met each board member's eyes. My personal life has no bearing on my ability to do my job. Your personal life? Edmund Monroe scoffed. You destroyed my daughter's engagement. I danced with a colleague. Once, your daughter's fiancé made his own choices. Choices influenced by your calculated seduction. That's enough. Beckett's voice rang out as he burst into the boardroom. This is absurd. Marlowe has done nothing but excel at her job while being harassed by my family. Beckett, you shouldn't be here, Vivian said coldly. I'm a board member. I have every right. He moved to stand beside Marlowe, and she wanted to simultaneously kiss him and strangle him. And I'm voting to keep Miss Sterling as CEO. You're compromised, Edmund said, clearly infatuated. I'm in love with her. The room fell silent. Marlowe's heart stopped. He did not just say that. In front of the board. In front of his mother. In front of everyone. Beckett, she whispered, horrified. I'm in love with Marlowe Sterling, he repeated louder. And yes, that complicates things. But it doesn't change the fact that she's the best CEO this company has ever had. Fire her, and you're making a decision based on scandal, not competence. How touching. Vivian's voice dripped sarcasm. My son, throwing away his future for a woman he's known 3 weeks. 3 weeks where I've felt more alive than 3 years with Scarlett. Motion to vote, Edmund Monroe demanded. All in favor of terminating Miss Sterling's position as CEO? 3 hands raised. Edmund, Vivian, and Albert Blackwell. Old money, old guard. Against? 3 hands raised. Beckett, Chairman Pemberton, and Margaret Chen, the tech visionaries. It was a tie. 3-3. The 7th board member, Daniel Foster, sat silent, his expression unreadable. Mr. Foster? Chairman Pemberton prompted. Your vote decides this. Daniel Foster was a venture capitalist, notoriously pragmatic. He studied Marlowe for a long moment. I vote to retain Miss Sterling as CEO, on one condition. Marlowe's breath caught. Which is? You and Beckett Ashford sign a conduct agreement. No romantic relationship while you're both employed by this company. Any violation results in immediate termination for you and removal from the board for him. It was a trap, a cage, but it was also survival. I accept, Marlowe said immediately. Marlowe, Beckett started. I accept the terms, she repeated firmly, not looking at him. My career comes first. The pain in Beckett's eyes was visceral, but he nodded. So do I. Then it's settled, Chairman Pemberton said. Miss Sterling retains her position. Meeting adjourned. As the board members filed out, Vivian paused beside Marlowe. Clever girl. But this isn't over. I will find a way to remove you from my son's life. After she left, only Marlowe and Beckett remained. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I shouldn't have said those things. I made it worse. You told the entire board you're in love with me. Marlowe finally looked at him. Were you telling the truth? Yes. No hesitation. Every word. Her heart ached. I can't do this, Beckett. Not now. Not under these conditions. I know. He moved closer but didn't touch her. But I meant what I said. I'll wait. However long it takes. Your mother will never accept me. Scarlett will make my life hell. And we can't even be together without risking everything we've both worked for. I know that too. His honey eyes held hers. But some things are worth fighting for. Before Marlowe could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number with an attached photo. Her blood ran cold. It was a picture of her from college, at a protest, being arrested for civil disobedience during an environmental demonstration. She'd been 19, idealistic, and it had resulted in a misdemeanor charge that was supposed to be sealed. The message read, "Interesting history, Miss Sterling. Wonder what the board would think. Wednesday deadline stands. V." What is it? Beckett asked, seeing her face drain of color. Marlowe showed him the phone, his jaw clenched. My mother sent this? She's digging into my past, looking for ammunition. Marlowe sank into a chair. There's more, things I'm not proud of. A father who abandoned us when I was 8. A mother who worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. I clawed my way out of poverty to get here, Beckett. And now your mother is going to weaponize every desperate decision I ever made. Let her try. He knelt beside her chair. You're not alone in this. Yes, I am. The conduct agreement says... The agreement says we can't have a romantic relationship. It doesn't say I can't defend someone I care about from character assassination. His hand covered hers. Let me help you fight this. Marlowe wanted to say no. Wanted to push him away, handle it herself like she'd always done. But looking into his eyes, seeing the absolute conviction there, she realized something terrifying. She was falling in love with him too. Okay, she whispered. But we do this smart. No more public declarations, no more ammunition for your mother. Agreed. He squeezed her hand once, then released it, already stepping back into professional distance. I'll start digging into Edmund Monroe's business dealings. If Scarlett's family wants war, we'll give them one. After he left, Marlowe sat alone in the empty boardroom. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Harry Chen. Heard you survived the board meeting. Drinks tonight. You look like you could use a friend. She smiled despite everything. You have no idea. Pierre's at 8? See you there. And Marlowe? Whatever you're planning, and I know you're planning something, count me in. Outside the window, Manhattan glittered in the afternoon sun, beautiful and merciless. Somewhere out there, Vivian and Scarlett were plotting her downfall. But Marlowe Sterling hadn't survived poverty, discrimination, and corporate backstabbing by giving up. The game was far from over. Harry Chen was a godsend. Over martinis at Pierre's, he'd casually mentioned that Edmund Monroe's investment firm was being investigated for securities fraud. By midnight, armed with Harry's connections and her own research skills, Marlowe had uncovered something explosive. Vivian Ashford had been funneling company funds into Monroe Investments for years. Not illegal amounts. Nothing that would trigger immediate audits. But consistent, questionable transfers totaling nearly $20 million over 5 years. This is why she wanted the Ashford-Monroe marriage, Marlowe told Beckett the next morning in her office, door locked, blinds drawn. It wasn't about society or tradition. It was about protecting her embezzlement scheme. Beckett stared at the financial documents spread across her desk, his face ashen. My own mother has been stealing from the company. I'm sorry. Marlowe's instinct was to touch him, comfort him, but the conduct agreement loomed between them like a wall. Don't be. His voice hardened. If she's been breaking the law, she deserves to face consequences. He looked up at her. What do? We need irrefutable proof before we go to the board. And we need to be careful. If Vivian suspects, we know. A knock interrupted them. Jamie's voice came through, urgent. Marlowe, you need to see this, now. They opened the door to find Jamie holding his tablet, looking horrified. On the screen was a tabloid headline. Ashford CEO's secret past, criminal record, poverty, and lies. The article was vicious. It detailed Marlowe's arrest, her father's abandonment, her mother's struggles. But worse, it twisted everything. Made her sound like a grifter who'd fabricated credentials, a social climber using Beckett to secure her position. All of it sourced to anonymous insiders close to the Ashford family. Vivian, Marlowe breathed. Her phone exploded with calls, board members, reporters, even her mother crying, asking why strangers were showing up at her house in Boston. I'll handle this, Beckett said immediately. No. Marlowe's voice was steel. This is exactly what she wants. To make you defend me publicly, prove we're together, violate the conduct agreement. I don't care about the agreement. I do. The words came out sharper than intended. I care about my job, my reputation, everything I've built. I won't let your mother destroy that. His jaw clenched. Then what's your play? Marlowe's mind raced. Then it clicked. We use the truth, all of it. By noon, Marlowe had called a press conference, against everyone's advice. This is career suicide, Jamie warned. Maybe, Marlowe said, straightening her jacket. Or maybe it's the only way to control the narrative. The press room was packed, cameras, reporters, the hungry media machine ready to devour her. Marlowe stepped to the podium. No notes, just raw honesty. My name is Marlowe Sterling. And everything in that article is true. Gasps rippled through the room. I was arrested at 19 for civil disobedience. I come from poverty. My father abandoned us. And yes, I've made mistakes. She paused. But I've never lied about my qualifications, never fabricated my credentials, and never used anyone to get where I am. A reporter shouted, What about your relationship with Beckett Ashford? Mr. Ashford and I are colleagues. Nothing more. We have signed a conduct agreement preventing any romantic relationship while we're both employed by Ashford Technologies. She met the cameras directly. But I won't apologize for being a woman who worked 3 jobs to put herself through college, who clawed her way out of poverty through sheer determination, who refused to let her circumstances define her future. Another reporter. Sources say Mrs. Ashford believes you're not fit to lead. Mrs. Ashford is entitled to her opinion. But the board hired me because I'm the best person for this job, and I intend to prove them right. The conference ended with more questions than answers, but Marlowe had seized control. The narrative shifted from gold digger to self-made success story. By evening, public opinion was turning in her favor. But Vivian wasn't done. Marlowe was working late when her office door opened. Scarlett stood there, and for the first time she looked defeated rather than furious. I need to talk to you, Scarlett said quietly. If you're here to threaten me, I'm here to warn you. Scarlett closed the door. My father and Vivian are planning something big. I heard them on the phone tonight. Marlowe studied her. Why would you warn me? Because I'm not completely heartless. Scarlett's voice broke slightly. Beckett didn't love me. I always knew that. But I thought I could make him love me eventually, that we'd build something real. She laughed bitterly. Then you showed up, and I saw how he looked at you. Like you were the sun, and he'd been living in darkness. Scarlett, I don't need your pity. She straightened. But I don't want to be part of whatever scheme my father and Vivian are cooking up. It's gone too far. She pulled out her phone, forwarding something to Marlowe. That's a recording from tonight. Use it. Before Marlowe could respond, Scarlett left. The audio file was damning. Vivian and Edmund discussing how to force Marlowe out by fabricating evidence of insider trading. Marlowe's hands shook. This wasn't just career sabotage anymore. This was criminal conspiracy. Her phone rang. Beckett. Where are you? His voice was tight with concern. Office. Why? Get out. Now. My mother knows we have the financial documents. She's sending people to confiscate everything from your office. How do you know? Because I just overheard her on the phone. Marlowe, she's desperate. There's no telling what she'll do. Through her office window, Marlowe saw the elevator doors open. 2 security guards she didn't recognize stepped out with Vivian. Too late, she whispered. They're here. I'm 5 minutes away. Don't let them take anything. But Marlowe knew 5 minutes might as well be an hour. She quickly uploaded all the documents to a secure cloud drive, then faced the door as Vivian swept in. Miss Sterling, I'm afraid we need to confiscate your computer and files. There's been a report of potential insider trading. That's a lie, and you know it. Do I? Vivian's smile was venomous. Or am I a concerned board member protecting this company from a corrupt CEO? She nodded to the guards. Take everything. You can't. I can, and I am. Vivian leaned close. I warned you. But you couldn't leave well enough alone. Now you'll lose everything. Your job, your reputation, and my son. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I will destroy you, Miss Sterling. Completely. As the guards began confiscating equipment, Marlowe's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Everything's backed up, and I'm forwarding copies to the SEC and FBI. Game over, Vivian. B. Vivian's phone rang. Her face went white as she listened, then purple with rage. What have you done? She screamed at Marlowe. Expose the truth. Marlowe kept her voice calm. About the embezzlement, the conspiracy. All of it. The elevator dinged. Beckett stepped out with Chairman Pemberton and 2 actual FBI agents. Vivian Ashford, one agent said, you're under investigation for embezzlement and conspiracy to commit fraud. As they read Vivian her rights, she locked eyes with Marlowe. This isn't over. Yes, Marlowe said quietly. It is. After everyone left, only she and Beckett remained in the destroyed office. You could have lost everything, he said. So could you. She finally let herself look at him. Really look at him. Thank you. For believing in me. Always. He took a step closer. The air between them crackled. The conduct agreement is still in effect. Right. But he didn't move away. Neither did she. They stood there, inches apart, the pull between them magnetic. When this is over, Beckett started. When this is over, Marlowe interrupted. Ask me again. His smile was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. That's a promise. 3 months later, Ashford Technologies stock had reached an all-time high. Marlowe stood before the board, presenting Q2 results that exceeded every projection. Vivian's seat remained empty. She'd resigned in disgrace, facing federal charges. Edmund Monroe had lost 3 major clients and was desperately trying to avoid prison time. But the victory felt hollow without being able to celebrate it properly with the person who'd stood by her through everything. Beckett sat across the conference table, professionally distant, his eyes revealing nothing. They'd mastered the art of pretending. Colleagues who barely spoke outside of meetings, who never touched, who acted like that night in the gala had never happened. It was killing them both. Outstanding work, Miss Sterling. Chairman Pemberton said after her presentation. The board is extremely pleased with your leadership. Thank you, though I can't take all the credit. She glanced at Beckett. Mr. Ashford's insights on the international expansion were invaluable. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, enough to make her heart race. After the meeting, Margaret Chen pulled Marlowe aside. That conduct agreement was meant to protect the company during a crisis. The crisis is over. What are you saying? I'm saying the board would be amenable to revisiting those terms. Hypothetically speaking. Margaret smiled knowingly. Just thought you should know. That evening, Marlowe was packing up when Beckett appeared in her doorway. Working late? He asked, his voice carefully neutral. Always. She continued organizing files, not trusting herself to look at him. 3 months of forced distance had only intensified everything she felt. Marlowe. The way he said her name made her freeze. How much longer are we going to do this? Do what? Pretend. He stepped inside, closing the door. Pretend we're just colleagues. Pretend that seeing you every day and not being able to touch you isn't torture. Pretend that I haven't been in love with you since the moment you told my mother to go to hell with your eyes while smiling with your mouth. Her breath caught. The agreement. Margaret told me the board would revoke it if we asked. He moved closer. So I'm asking, are you ready to stop pretending? Beckett, She turned away, her emotions a tangled mess. What if it doesn't work? What if we try this, and it destroys everything we've both worked for? And what if it does work? He was behind her now, close enough that she could feel his warmth. What if we're giving up the best thing that could happen to us because we're afraid? I'm terrified, she admitted. You're Beckett Ashford, billionaire heir, Manhattan royalty, and I'm the strongest, most brilliant woman I've ever met, who fights for what she believes in, who doesn't back down, who makes me want to be better. His voice dropped. Who I think about every moment of every day. Marlowe turned to face him, tears in her eyes. Your family will never accept me. My mother is facing federal charges. My engagement to Scarlett ended in spectacular fashion. I think we're past worrying about family approval. He smiled slightly. Besides, I have a feeling my Aunt Patricia will adore you. She's been texting me for weeks, asking when I'm going to make an honest woman out of the genius CEO. Despite everything, Marlowe laughed. You've been talking to your family about me. Only the ones who matter, the ones who actually care about my happiness. He reached up, gently wiping a tear from her cheek. So, what do you say, Marlowe Sterling? Ready to give this a real chance? Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. A news alert. Breaking. Scarlett Monroe engaged to European Duke. Found. Real love, says former Ashford fiancé. They both stared at the headline, then burst out laughing. Well, Beckett said, at least someone got their fairy tale ending. Good for her, honestly. Marlowe smiled. She deserves someone who looks at her the way... She stopped, suddenly shy. The way I look at you, Beckett finished. Because I should tell you. Everyone's noticed. Jamie started a betting pool on when we'll finally admit we're together. Harry Chen keeps sending me articles about successful workplace romances. Even Chairman Pemberton pulled me aside to say, and I quote, "For God's sake, man, just ask the woman out properly." Really? Really? He cupped her face in his hands. So here it is, Marlowe Sterling. Would you do me the extraordinary honor of having dinner with me? Not as CEO and board member, not as colleagues, but as a man who's completely hopelessly in love with a woman he doesn't deserve, but desperately wants anyway. Her heart felt like it might burst. That's the most ridiculous, wonderful thing anyone's ever said to me. Is that a yes? That's we need to formally request the conduct agreement be dissolved first. He groaned. You're killing me with your professionalism. Someone has to maintain standards. But she was smiling. Besides, I want to do this right. No scandals, no gossip. Just us, properly dating like normal people. We're a billionaire and a CEO. We stopped being normal people a long time ago. True. She stood on her toes, bringing her lips close to his ear. But for the record, my answer is yes. To dinner, to dating, to seeing where this goes. Yes, to all of it. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her close. You know what this means, right? What? Jamie wins the betting pool. He predicted we'd cave by the end of Q2. Marlowe laughed against his chest. Then I guess we're predictable. We're anything but predictable. Beckett tilted her chin up. But we are inevitable. I think I knew that the first day. When I intimidated your mother. When you refused to be intimidated by anyone, including me. His thumb traced her lower lip. God, I want to kiss you right now. Conduct agreement, she reminded him breathlessly. Right, conduct agreement. But neither of them moved apart. Her phone buzzed. An email from Chairman Pemberton. Miss Sterling, Mr. Ashford, the board has voted unanimously to dissolve the conduct agreement, effective immediately. Stop dancing around each other and get on with it. RP. They stared at the email, then at each other. Well, Beckett said slowly, I guess that settles that. I guess it does. So technically, there's nothing stopping me from… Marlowe grabbed his tie and pulled him down, kissing him with 3 months of pent-up longing. He responded immediately, one hand tangling in her hair, the other pressing her closer, like he couldn't get enough. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. Worth the wait? She asked. Worth everything. He kissed her again, softer this time. So, about that dinner. Tomorrow night, somewhere quiet, where we can actually talk. Talk? He raised an eyebrow. That's what you want to do? She laughed. Among other things. But yes, I want to know everything. Your favorite movie, your biggest fear, what you were like as a kid. Boring, heights, and insufferable, respectively. See? Already learning things. She kissed him once more. Now go home before we scandalize the night cleaning crew. Yes, boss, he grinned. I'm going to enjoy saying that in completely different contexts from now on. Beckett Ashford. His laughter echoed through the hallway as he left. Marlowe touched her lips, smiling like a fool. After everything, the scandal, the threats, the impossible obstacles, they'd made it. Her phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations, you earned it. S. Scarlett, making peace in her own way. Marlowe looked out at the Manhattan skyline, the city glittering with possibility. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight was perfect. 1 year later, the Ashford Technologies annual gala was nothing like the disaster of the previous year. For one thing, Marlowe was attending as both CEO and as Beckett's girlfriend, a fact that the tabloids had finally accepted after months of the most boringly normal relationship in Manhattan socialite history. Dinner dates, weekend getaways, meeting each other's families, well, most of each other's families. Your Aunt Patricia is staring at me again, Marlowe whispered as they danced. Beckett glanced over at the elegant older woman who'd become an unexpected ally. She's making sure I don't mess this up. She threatened to disown me if I let you get away. Smart woman. The smartest. He pulled her closer. Though not as smart as the woman in my arms. Smooth talker. I learned from the best. His expression turned serious. Have I told you today that I love you? Twice. Once this morning, once in the elevator. Not enough. He kissed her forehead. I love you. Marlowe Sterling. Her heart still fluttered every time he said it. I love you too. The song ended, and Chairman Pemberton approached with a champagne flute and a knowing smile. Congratulations on the merger, Miss Sterling. Brilliant move. Thank you. Though Mr. Ashford's negotiation skills sealed the deal. You two make quite the team. Pemberton's eyes twinkled, in business and otherwise. After he walked away, Marlowe noticed Beckett seemed nervous. His hand trembled slightly as he led her toward the terrace. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Perfect. Just need some air." The terrace overlooked Central Park, the city lights creating a magical backdrop. They were alone, the sounds of the gala muted behind glass doors. "Marlowe," Beckett began, then stopped. "God, I rehearsed this 100 times, and now I can't remember a single word." "Rehearsed what?" He took both her hands. "A year ago, you walked into that conference room and turned my entire world upside down. You challenged me, frustrated me, inspired me. You made me realize that everything I thought I wanted was just settling." "Beckett, let me finish before I lose my nerve." He smiled, but his eyes were suspiciously bright. "You've dealt with my impossible family, corporate sabotage, scandal, and my terrible habit of working through lunch. You've built this company into something extraordinary while somehow making me want to be extraordinary too." He dropped to one knee, pulling out a velvet box. Marlowe's hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my God!" "Marlowe Sterling, you are the most brilliant, fierce, compassionate woman I've ever known. You're my best friend, my partner, my everything. And I don't want to spend another day without knowing you'll be by my side forever." He opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald-cut diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes." "Yes, absolutely yes." He stood, sliding the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, applause erupted. The entire gala had moved to the windows, watching the proposal. "Did you plan that?" Marlowe laughed through happy tears. "Aunt Patricia may have orchestrated the audience." He kissed her again. "Is that okay?" "It's perfect." She looked at the ring, then at him. "You're perfect. Far from it. But I promise to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. You already do." 2 years later, the Sterling Ashford Foundation's ribbon-cutting ceremony was packed with reporters, beneficiaries, and supporters. Marlowe stood beside Beckett, her hand resting on her growing belly, as they unveiled the new community center in her old Boston neighborhood. The building would provide technology training, job placement services, and mentorship for underprivileged youth. "This," Marlowe said into the microphone, "is for every kid who thinks their circumstances define their future. They don't. You define your future." The crowd erupted in applause. Later, back in their Manhattan penthouse, Marlowe kicked off her heels with a grateful sigh. "My feet are killing me. Come here." Beckett patted the couch beside him. "Let me." As he massaged her feet, Marlowe looked around their home. Photos of their wedding covered one wall, a small, intimate ceremony with only people who truly mattered. Her mother had cried through the entire thing. Aunt Patricia had given a toast that somehow managed to be both touching and hilarious. Even Scarlett had sent flowers with a note. "Congratulations. He never looked at me the way he looks at you. I'm happy you both found what you were looking for." Vivian, serving house arrest for her crimes, had sent nothing. Marlowe didn't care. "What are you thinking about?" Beckett asked, noticing her distant expression. "How different everything is from 2 years ago." She placed her hand over her stomach. "How perfect everything turned out. Almost perfect. We still haven't decided on names. I like Sloane for a girl. And Sterling for a boy." "Absolutely not. That's too on the nose." She laughed. "What about Harrison, after Harry? He'd never let us live it down." "True." She shifted, getting comfortable. "How's the company doing?" "Our company," he corrected. "And brilliantly. The quarterly reports. Are we really going to talk about work right now?" "You're right." He pulled her closer. "We should talk about how impossibly beautiful you look pregnant. I look like I swallowed a basketball." "A beautiful basketball." He kissed her neck. "The most stunning basketball in Manhattan. You're ridiculous." "You love it." "I do." She turned to face him. "I love you. So much it scares me sometimes." Good scared or bad scared? Good scared. The kind that makes me realize how lucky I am. She touched his face. 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd lost everything. Instead, you gained everything. We gained everything. She kissed him softly. Together. Together, he agreed. Always. As the sun set over Manhattan, painting their living room in shades of gold and rose, Marlo Sterling Ashford reflected on the impossible journey that had brought her here. From corporate scandal to true love, from enemies to partners, from impossible obstacles to infinite possibilities. She'd fought for her career, her dignity, and her right to love who she chose. And she'd won. Not because the path was easy, but because she'd refused to give up. And now, curled up with the man she loved, their future growing inside her, the city glittering below them like a promise, Marlo knew with absolute certainty. The best was yet to come. The end.